Today I'm going to talk to you about what all of these cards are about, because you might have seen them around your school and be wondering, what are those cards all about? What do those pictures mean? Well, I want to take us right back to the beginning of time. So this is when the world wasn't made. So there was just darkness and there wasn't a world. And some people believe that the world was made by God. And there are a group of people who are Christian people who believe in God and that God made the world. Now, you go to a Christian school. Max is a Christian school. And so a lot of the things that we learn about will also be thinking about God and how God fits into our world and the things that we do. And so at MAPS, you have got something called God's Big Story. And God's Big Story is actually all of the messages that is in this special book. Now, this special book is called the Bible, and it's got lots of things in it, lots of messages and stories that God wanted the Christian people to know all about. Now, because this book is very long and there's lots of things in it, and there's lots of things that Christian people and people in Christian schools will be learning about, we have made God's Big Story to help you to know all of the messages very, very quickly that are in the Bible. And we will use God's Big Story during our school day and in our learning, and when we're learning about God and how we can be a Christian school together. So I'm going to tell you what each of the pictures mean now. So there's our world that God has made. And God, when he made the world, right at the beginning of the story, right at the beginning of the Bible, he made it to be perfect. So all of the first part of our Bible is all about love and how much God loved the world and he loved everything that he made. So it tells us right at the beginning that God is love and he made us to be close to him and to be close to each other and to show love to him, and he would show love to us, and everything would be perfect. And so when we think about love and love in the world, we can think about things that make us feel happy, things where we show kindness, where we do kind things for other people, and we make kind choices. And these all fit into the first part of God's big story. I wonder, talking to your partner now, whether you can think of something where you've shown love or someone's shown love to you. The next part of God's big story is broken love. Now, I wonder if any of you have felt broken love. Now, in the Bible, there were people that were showing broken love to each other. They were hurting each other and being unkind. And so things went wrong. The first people that God made, who were called Adam and Eve, here they are, Adam and Eve, they didn't listen to God for the first time because they were tricked by a snake. So broken love came into the world. And broken love is here now. And so I wonder, maybe have a think for a moment if you can think of some unkind choices that you've made or unkind things that people have done to you. And then you will know what broken love means. So when you see this picture around school, this picture helps us to think about the things that are not so good. Okay. Then the next part of God's big story is our cross. And so we sometimes look at these two cards together. This one, because when we're feeling sad and there's been broken love in the world, but this one is the part of God's big story that helps us to think about how we can make the broken love go away or make that broken love better. And instead of having broken love, we can start to show love again. Now, in the Bible, there's lots of stories about a man called Jesus, and he came down to earth as part of God. And he came down to help people to think about some of the broken love things that they do. And his job was to come and take the broken love things away from us. And so Christians believe that they can talk to God and Jesus and say sorry, and then the broken love things go back to us being full of love again. And this is something that helps us just to all think, whether we are Christians, whether we know God or whether we don't, sometimes we need to think about things if they've gone wrong, about how we can take time to think about those things and say that we are sorry. I wonder if you could talk to your partner now about some things that you may have done that you've needed to say sorry for. Maybe there's something you need to be sorry for today. The next part of God's big story is about our world. Now, we all live in the world. God made us, and he wanted us to take care of the world. When Jesus was on earth, he did lots of things to take care of the world. And this part of God's big story helps us to remember how we can do amazing things just like God and just like Jesus. I wonder, talk to your partner about some things that you might know about in the world that people are doing that's really good. Maybe you know about some different charities, or maybe there's some things that you're doing. Do you know, when you choose to help somebody in your class, you're doing an amazing thing in the world. So it can be very small things, or it can be really big things. I wonder what amazing things you've been doing. The next part of God's big story is the Holy Spirit. Now, the Holy Spirit can be a little bit strange to understand. But if you can think of your most favourite superhero, maybe it's Spider-Man or Superman or Batman or Batwoman or Batgirl, whoever it is, they have superpowers that make amazing things happen. But you know, God, who we can't actually see, and Jesus, who was down on the earth with us, are two parts of God. And the Holy Spirit is the third part of God because it's his superpower. And when Jesus didn't live here on the earth anymore and he went to live in God's kingdom, he left the Holy Spirit down to be with us. And Christians can talk to God and ask the Holy Spirit for the superpower to come and do amazing things. It's quite often where we think about when miracles happen, it's amazing and it's God's supernatural power that has made that miracle happen. Then the last part of God's big story is our rainbow. Now, you might come across the rainbow in one of the stories in the Bible, all about a man called Noah and his big boat, because God sent a rainbow to be in the sky at the end of that story. And the rainbow was a promise that he would look after the world and he would never flood it again. And so whenever we look at a rainbow, we remember lots of promises, because in the Bible, God has written lots of promises for us, or the people have written lots of promises from God for us in the Bible for us to remember. And one big promise that God has for us is that one day he's going to make the world good again. So there won't be any broken love. Broken love would have gone away, and there'll be a new world which is full of love. And Christian people will live together with God in his kingdom. And so we have to remember, when broken love things happen, that it won't be like that forever. That God promises to look after us and that he will help us, and that one day there'll be a place where we will live with God and there's no pain and there's no suffering and no broken love. And so that's God's big story. So when you see God's big story around school, you will know a little bit more about what each of the pictures help us to think about every